is ESBL Boxing. Delighted as always to be joined by Paul Kelly. Paul, just seen Frazer Clarke against Dave Allen in a strange old fight. It was definitely, I would describe it as definitely a watchable fight. Seen worse kind of undercard fights, ending in a sixth round retirement for Dave Allen. So yeah, Frazer Clarke is the victor, got deducted 2 points due to low blows in that fight. And Dave Allen ends up retiring with being told that's due to a perforated eardrum. A few things to unpack here, but what did you think of the fight? How convincing were you of Frazer Clarke? Talk to me. What did you think?
Yeah, thanks, Elliot. I think I don't think if I think one thing Fraser Clarke said in his post-fight interview, which I agree with, is that he learned a lot on the job tonight. I think is probably fair to say, despite being the younger man, Dave Allen has obviously been far longer, and a few tricks that he was doing were working on Big Freeze. But in terms of performance wise, I don't think it was great from Fraser Clarke at all. To be honest with you, sure we'll come on to the low blows in a minute, but um, think that a few of us thought Dave Allen was the toughest test for Fraser Clarke on paper of his career, and he might well have been. But with the inactivity of Dave, I didn't really know what to expect. And now I haven't watched the fight. And I think inactivity told a little bit for Dave Allen as well. He was in the fight rounds. I think Big Fraser was winning the rounds with his jab and landing the shots. But Dave Allen was there. He had a bit of success with his overhand right times, but I think in the end, I thought the fight was destined to go before a punch was thrown. I thought it was going to go the distance, and I would have fancied Fraser Clarke to win on points, and I think that would have been the outcome there. I wouldn't have seen um, Dave Allen getting purely stopped or anything there. Um, so yeah, I think that if he's got a perforated eardrum and something's cracked in his jaw or whatever, you can't really fight on, can you?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I was kind of only aware of that the eardrum problem when it kind of got announced. To be honest, Dave Allen looked, apart from receiving a couple of low blows, looked to be getting on okay. And I think for me, like from round three onwards, that's what it looked like was going to happen. It looked like Clarke was going to win on points when Allen could come out of the fight thinking, right, he's not disgraced himself. He just hasn't done enough to win the fight. Onto the low blows. Obviously, that's been the main topic the last few days, considering what happened between Usyk and Dubois last week. Um, Frazer Clarke got 2 points deducted, so you never know. Maybe Allen might have kind of won one or two of the rounds beforehand, according to the judges' scorecards. We don't know. So actually, at the end of round six, um, the scores might not have been that far apart if Allen could have come out and kind of maybe put more of a stamp on in those last four rounds. Who knows what would have happened? But what did what did you think of the low blows? I think it's quite clear that they were low blows in terms of. Do you think Frazer Clarke was in danger of getting disqualified? What were your thoughts on the whole situation?
Yeah, obviously we just mentioned off camera there, low blows and supposed low blows are going to be, it's kind of going to be examined to the nth degree just because of the whole Usyk Dubois situation the other week there. And I'm not saying that I didn't think they were low. They were really, really low from Fraser Clarke. I'm not saying it was, obviously it wasn't intentional, but he's just punching, and a couple of inches lower than he should be. Whether or not that's because Dave Allen's a smaller man, I don't know whether it has anything to do with that. I'm not too sure. Yes, Alan, if you looked at his protector, it was obviously higher than his actual shorts. It looked a bit untidy, but the shots were clearly landing. Not even at the top of the protector, a little bit lower than that, a little bit lower than his guard. So they were 100% low, and it was. I think I got deducted 2 points for them, and that was for the two blatant low blow ones, and it was within 30 seconds of each other. But there were still other low blows in there as well. And I think George Groves said in commentary, which I agreed with, was if that was me, and I was in danger of losing all those points, just do not throw body shots anymore. Just go upstairs because the worst thing, if you're Fraser Clarke and you've won arguably every round, do you imagine you got disqualified in the eighth round if it had gone that far due to numerous low blows? That would have been an absolute disaster for him. But it's definitely something that he needs to work on. And maybe a little bit of inexperience in the pro ranks.
Yeah, I think that what surprised me was that he got deducted a point, and then a minute later, just threw another low blow. That was it was just a bit thoughtless, to be honest, because in my opinion, another one low blow, and I do think that could have been it. Genuinely,
Yeah,
you can't just keep doing and keep getting points deducted and points deducted until you've had 10 points deducted. I think at some point the referee's going to have to say that this is your this is your final chance, or that's it. I've had enough, because you can't have someone repeatedly getting punched down there in a boxing ring.
yeah.
That's not kind of not a great look for the sport. So it was a bizarre fight. I don't really feel like anyone's, in my opinion, interested to get your opinion on this as well. But Dave Allen, if you consider his inactivity, if you consider how long it's been since he faced a live opponent, I actually think he can come out with a lot of credit tonight. During those 6 rounds, they've been competitive. I think they were more competitive than a lot of people thought they were going to be. Frazer Clarke, he's an Olympic medalist, could go on to win titles in the sport. And yeah, look, he's not won the fight, and he's not come close to winning the fight, Dave Allen. But I don't think it was a bad performance. What did you? I've got 2 questions left, Paul. What do you think's next for Dave Allen here? I personally believe he can possibly go down the route of being kind of some sort of gatekeeper for the division and kind of face upcoming prospects. Whether he'd want to do that, I don't know. But I think that's if he can he's obviously with a good train now with Jamie Moore. If he can kind of stay motivated, I do think he can have that role, and I do still think he can fight for a British title in the future. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. Just from that's his sixth. Is that his sixth defeat?
I think
Seventh
so, yeah.
defeat? Dave Allen's sixth defeat. I mean, you look at the names he's lost to, and it's not like he's losing to your average fighter. Really, he's kind of lost to fighters who you would say are quite a high level. Bar maybe your Leonard Thomas or whatever. Frazer Clarke is being billed as this potential, European potential world champion boxer, building him up. Whether or not you agree with that is a different story. But for Dave Allen, I think it's important for him now. If I was Dave Allen, he might well be go down the gatekeeper route. But if I was him, I would probably want to stay in the gym. See once his injuries have recovered or whatever, just stay in the gym and stay relatively, fit and keep your weight down to like I know people were saying at the weigh-in and stuff he didn't look in great shape, but he did. I don't actually think he looked as bad in the ring as some people maybe thought he was going to look. Um, but I think he's clearly a man that you know has his life together when he's in boxing. So I think that it's important for him to just I love Dave Allen. I'm one of Dave Allen's biggest fans. So I personally like to see him, get a few wins against fighters who, you make it a 50-50 fight or you kind of give him a chance in rather than these Frazer Clarks who, yes, I was giving him a chance and some other people were, but the vast majority of people weren't giving him a chance in. But then as you said, yeah, going forward, I think he's an epitome of a gatekeeper to get the are you gonna do anything at heavyweight or not?
Mm.
Because he knows all the tricks in the book. He can't like look at that first round, and his head movement was good, his guard was good, his movement was good, his footwork was decent, and he's a very tough heavyweight. Beat him, you're gonna know you've been in a fight, whether you win or lose, you're gonna know you've been in a fight against Dave Allen, which Frazer Clarke will have, and everyone that's beat Dave Allen, they know they've been in a fight. So me personally, I like to see him get a couple of wins, stay active, stay healthy and fit, and then yeah, we'll see where it goes. But I'd love to see him fight for a British title and win one in the future.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I think he went into tonight believing. I do think he generally believed he could win tonight. He wasn't fighting like a necessarily like a gatekeeper or a journeyman. He went in there and definitely gave it a go. Same question for Frazer Clarke, Paul. In fairness, this is still only Frazer Clarke's 8th fight. He's beaten Dave Allen now, beaten Mario Swack. What do you think? I think one thing about Frazer Clarke, I believe he's 32 now. Not old for a heavyweight, but quite old for someone who's only had 8 fights. What level do you think he can get to? Obviously, we had the whole Fabio Wardley fiasco a couple of months ago. Fabio Wardley looks like he's going to fight David Adley now. I think that he could possibly face the winner of that fight maybe early next year. Um, but what do you think's going to happen? Do you think we can see him in a big fight soon, or do you think he's going to face more guys on the levels of the Marius Wax, the Dave Allens? What do you think's going to happen next in his career?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, mate. I probably see him fighting someone. Can't think of a name off the top of my head really now. I maybe have to have a think about it, but someone just a little above Dave Allen's level. But an experienced pro who's lost a few times, but won a good one more far more than he's lost. If that'll give Frazer Clarke a few rounds, and he'll learn more from. Then yeah, ultimately it has to be, if it is Adelaide against Wardley next for that British title, then if you're Frazer Clarke, you definitely have to have your eyes on the winner. And it'd be interesting to see your thoughts on, who we think wins that. But for me, where in terms of where he can go in his career, I don't ever envisage Fraser Clarke having a world title around his waist, to be quite honest with you. Whether he ever fights for a world title remains to be seen. Right now, I've gone to my head, I would say probably not. Um, European level, I'm not so sure. Probably could win it, yeah. But you'd like to think he could win a British title against the right opponent. But I would make Fabio Wardley a favourite against him if they were to fight.
Yeah, we shall see.
Yeah.
Look, Fraser Clarke, he's got a big platform behind him. People know who he is, so we'll see. Hopefully, see him in a big fight soon. Paul, we'll leave it at that, and yeah, we'll look forward to the main event. I'll speak to you again soon.
Cheers, mate. All the best.